This is lesson 2.4, finding the equation of a line. This is a grade 10 applied lesson, so if you're in grade 10 applied, this lesson is for you. So what you're going to need is the handout given out in class, 2.4, finding the equation of a line. And we're going to go through this, and please take notes. If you get lost, just pause the video, rewind. And if you still don't know what's going on, just raise your hand and ask for help, and I'll come to help you. So the first thing we're going to do is a quick review. So here we've got the equation of a line, and the two important pieces of information in the equation of a line is m and b. So can you remember what m stands for? If you said the slope, you are correct. So it's the slope of the line. And then our b, what is that? That is our y-intercept. And if you can't remember what the y-intercept is, just take a look back at this line right over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at the y-axis, which is this one here, and look at where our line hits the y-axis. So in this case, it's right here. So that is our y-intercept, and as we can see in this graph, it is our y-intercept is 1. So if you need a reminder what the y-intercept is, it's where the line hits the y-axis. Okay, so in this lesson, we're going to be doing some algebra. So in the previous lesson, what we learned how to do is if I gave you what the slope is and if I gave you what the y-intercept was, what I had you do is put it all together into the equation of a line like this. But now, it's not going to be so easy. I'm not going to just give you the slope and the y-intercept. What I'm going to give you is, in this one question, I'm going to give you the slope and a point on the line, and you've got to come up with the equation. And then I'm just going to give you 2 points, and you've got to come up with an equation. So let's do this first one here. So we're going to work on this question here. We're in a question. You'll just be given the slope and a point on the line, and you're going to have to figure out how to do it. So let's read example number 1. So example number 1, by the way, if you need help, these are the steps that we're going to follow. In example number 1, it says a line with slope 2 passes through the point 4, 3. Determine the equation of a line. So I'm just going to circle the piece of information we're given. We're given that the slope is 2 and that the point is 4, 3. And we remember that the slope is just m, so I'm going to put an m over here. So it says to determine the equation of a line. So the first thing I'm going to start with for sure is writing out the equation of a line, which is y equals mx plus b. And I'll always give you that on the board for a test, so you don't need to memorize it, but it's not too difficult to remember. So let's put in the thing that we know. We know that m is equal to 2. So I'm just going to write that. And what we're going to do is we're just going to sub in the slope. So if we're following along in the steps, we're just going to substitute the slope in for m. So let's write this out. So I'm going to copy y we don't have, so I'm going to copy y, and then next is equals, and then instead of m, I'm going to write 2, and then we're copying the x, we don't have x, plus b. So to have an equation of a line, let's go back up for a second. We need to have 2 things. We need m, check, we've already got that, but we also need b. So let's go back and check if we were given b. So I'm reading through here, I don't see anything but the y-intercept. So if we're not given the y-intercept, we need to use a sneaky way to find the y-intercept. So what was the other piece of information that we were given? We were given m and we used that. But what about this one? We haven't used the point. So I'm going to write it out. I'm going to say that we are going to, before we do that, just remember, when you have a point like 4, 3, the point 4, 3, the point 4, 3 is just a point on the xy grid. So if I have the point 4, 3, we list points x and then y. So that's something important to remember. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sub in the point 4, 3 into our equation. But what I'm going to do is points are listed x and then y. So what I'm going to do is every time I see an x, I'm going to put a 4. And every time I see a y, I'm going to put a 3. So let's copy from this equation here up to here. So instead of y, what can I write? Well, I can write 3. And then I've got equals 2. Instead of x, what can I write? 4, but let's look at 24, so I'm going to put brackets. Then plus b. So now what we're going to do is we are going to simplify and find b. So let's copy down the 3. The equals, what's 2 times 4? That's just 8, plus b. And now let's get rid of, well, we're asking ourselves, first of all, what are we looking for? We're looking for b. What's in the way of b being by itself? The 8. So we got to get rid of 8, bring it onto the other side. It's going to turn into subtraction. So we've got 3 minus 8 equals b, and we know that b is just equal to negative 5. So now we have our m, which was given to us in the question, and now we've got our b, so we can put it all together. So I'm going to write that y equals mx plus b, and I'm going to sub in our m and our b. So we have that y equals m was just 2, and then x plus b, our b was just minus 5, and there we go. There's the equation of a line, all done. So now if you think you've got it, we're going to try example number 2. So if you think you understand it, I would pause the video and try it on your own, and then just I would pause the video if you know what you're doing, and try it on your own, and then just fast forward and check your answers if you think you've got it. So if you don't know what you're doing and you want to do it one more time with me, let's work on it together right now. So I'm going to circle the important piece of information. We have the slope and we have a point, and it says that we are finding the equation of a line. So I'm going to start by writing out the equation of a line, which we know is y equals mx plus b. So now we know that the slope, what letter is that again? That is just m. So we know that m is negative 3 over 4, so I'm going to write that. Slope equals negative 3 over 4. And our first step is just we're going to plug that in for m. So I don't have y, so I'm going to copy what y equals. Our m, no problem, it's negative 3 over 4. And then we don't have x yet, and we're going to do plus b. So just as a reminder, all we need to find the equation of a line is m and b. M we were given, no problemo. B, we got to find it. We got to find it in a sneaky way. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use the second piece of information we were given, which is this point. So I'm going to write out, we're going to sub in the point for negative 1. And how are points written? Y, x, or xy? If you are shouting xy, you are correct. So every time that I need to write x, instead I'm going to write 4. And every time I need to write y, instead I'm going to write negative 1. So let's do it. We're going to use this equation here. We're going to copy it up here. So instead of y, what can I put? Well, I can just put negative 1. Then we've got to copy the equals and the negative 3 over 4. And instead of x, we're right here now. Instead of x, what should I put in? I'm going to put in 4. I'm going to put brackets around it. And then we got plus b. Do not have that one. So I'm just going to copy plus b. Okay, so now we have, right here, we've got two fractions multiplying against each other. So what I'm going to do is first make this one into a fraction by putting it over 1. Then if you remember how to multiply fractions, all we have to do is multiply the top. So negative 3 times 4, right here, which is negative 12. And then multiply the bottom, which is 4 times 1, 4. And then plus b. Let's finish this off. We're going to copy the negative 1, copy the equals, and negative 12 divided by 4 is just negative 3 plus b. And let's finish this off. We want a b by itself, so what is in the way? It's this negative 3. We've got to bring it to the other side. We know it's going to become positive. So we've got negative 1 plus 3 equals b, and our b is just equal to 2. So let's put in everything together now. We have b, and we have m. We're good to go. We're going to throw it all together. So I'm going to write out the equation of a line. Y equals mx plus b. And we're going to leave the y alone and sub in our m. Our m is negative 3 over 4 x plus, and our b was 2. And we are done. Equation of a line. Oops. Equation of a line is done. Okay. So back up to our checklist for what we're doing. We are learning to find the equation of a line given the slope and a point. Done. And now the second one, which is we're going to find the equation of a line just from 2 points. No problemo. Let's go to the next page. Okay, so there's one more equation that we're going to learn in this unit, and that's this one right here. So no need to memorize it, I'll always give it to you, but just let's read this here. We can find the slope of a line if we have 2 points on that line if we use this equation right here. So no need to memorize. Let's just practice. Let's go right to example number 3. And we're going to practice using this equation so you know how to use it. Okay, so here's the first step. We have, when you're finding the slope from 2 points, what we have to do is, we know that points are listed x, y. So I'm going to write x and y here, and then the second point is also going to be x and y. So we know our, let me make this x right on top of it, so it makes it very, very clear. Okay, we've got x and y and x and y. But this x is -2, and this x is 1, so we got to make them different somehow. So why don't we call the first one x1 and y1, and then the second one we'll call it x2 and y2. And look at this, back to our equation here. Don't those look like they're going to fit right in perfectly? Yes, they are. So let's write out the equation. We've got slope m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm just copying from up here. And now we're going to plug in what we know. Our slope is equal to, which one was y2? Well, it's right there, -4. So I'm going to put in -4, copy the minus. And what is y1? Well, it's just 3. So -3, copy the over. What's x2? It's 1. 1 minus, copy the minus, and then x1 is -2. So I'm going to put in brackets -2. Equals -4 minus 3 is just -7 over 1 minus -2, just 1 plus 2, which is 3. So our slope is -7, 3. We would have figured out the exact same thing if we had plotted these points. Maybe one point is here, one point is here, and then done the old-fashioned way of finding the rise and the run. Rise, run. We would have got the exact same thing. So it's a shortcut. You don't even have to graph it. We can just find it with algebra. So let's do the second one. In example number 3, it says find the slope of each line. And it's going to have, here are our points right here. So let's do it. Let's call them x and y. X and y. And let's call the first point 1 and the second point 2. And we'll write out the equation. Our slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I'll always give you this equation, so don't worry about memorizing it. And let's plug in. Hopefully you should be able to do this by yourself now. y2 is just 1 minus y1 is 5 all over x2 is -2 and x1 is 0, so minus 0. And let's put it all together. 1 minus 5, just -4. All over -2 minus 0, just -2. And if we're going to simplify that, we can divide by 2 on the top and the bottom. And we're left with -2 over -1. But we never leave negative at the bottom. And a negative divided by negative is just a positive. So we've got 2 over 1, or 2 is the final answer. Okay, for the last one, I want you to try it on your own. So for part C, just pause the video, go ahead and try it exactly the same way that we did for B and for A. See if you can get it. So if you're starting the video again, you've tried C on your own, you're just checking your answer. So you would have labeled these X, Y, X, Y. And we're going to do the short version, 1, 1, 2, 2. I'm going to plug it right in. So we should have M equals, if you plug it in properly, you'll have, is that a -4? Yep. Okay, so you'll have -4 minus 0 over -3 minus 0. M is equal to -4 over 3, which can't, -3, which can't be reduced, but we can't leave this negative at the bottom. So we've got a negative divided by a negative, That's just a positive, so we can make it positive 4 over 3, and we are done. So now that you've got this part done, you're ready to do our final question in this unit, which is finding the equation of a line containing 2 points. Okay, so we're not given the slope, we're not given the y-intercept, all we're given are 2 points, and we've got to make an equation of a line just from that. We can do it. So I'm going to circle the 2 things we are given, which is this point and this point. Okay, so far so good. And we have to find the equation of a line. So I'm going to go ahead and just get started with writing the equation of a line, because I know we need it. So I'm going to y equals mx plus b. So remember, there's only 2 things we need, and that's slope and y-intercept. Once we've gotten both of them, we're good to go. We are done. So I don't know how to find b from 2 points, but I do know how to find m, so that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to write out those points out. So I'm going to do 1, -1, and 3, 3. And I'm going to find m by using this formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I'm going to plug everything in. So first I'm going to label. So we've got x, y, and let's label the first one x1 and the second one x2. By the way, you guys can switch around these orders. As long as you make the left number x and the right number y, it doesn't matter if you call this one y1 or this one y1. It does not matter. Okay, so let's plug in what we know. So we have the slope is going to equal y2 is 3 minus y1 is -1 all over x2 is also 3 minus x1, which is 1. So let's finish this off. Our slope, actually no, let me just write it all here. Slope is equal to 3 minus -1, just 3 plus 1, which is 4, over 3 minus 1, which is 2. And if we divide by 2 in the top, divide by 2 in the bottom, you're going to get that the slope is just 2 over 1, which is just 2. Okay, so we got our slope. So why don't we plug that in? So we're going to write out our y equals mx plus b, and instead of m, we know we can just write 2. So let's do that. So we have y equals, our m is 2, then we have x plus b. We're halfway there. We're almost done. Now we just have to find b. So can you think of the trick that we use to find b if we're not given it? Well, we're just going to use exactly what we did in the previous page, which is sub in a point for x and y instead, and then we're going to be able to find b. So pick whatever point you want. We could pick this first point, we could pick the second point. I like to make it easier for myself and pick the point with the smallest numbers, which is going to be this one, because I don't want to deal with big numbers, but ones are okay. So I'm going to write a little note to myself. Sub in point, we're going to put in the point 1, -1. And we know that points are written x, y, so we'll sub in the 1 for x, maybe I'll write it in red, 1 for x and -1 for y. So instead of y, we're going to write -1, and instead of x, we're going to write 1. You could have done the same thing with the other point, 3, 3, and you would have got the same answer. So let's do this. So instead of y, we can write -1, then we're copying the equals, and then the 2, instead of x, we can write 1, and I'm going to put that in brackets, plus b. We have no idea what that is. Let's keep on going. So we got -1 equals 2 times 1 is just 2 plus b. We are almost done. So what do we want by itself? We want b by itself. And what is in the way? This 2. And this is a positive 2. So when we bring it onto the other side, we know what's going to become. So let's finish this off. We are going to write -1 instead of plus 2. When we bring it to the other side, it's going to turn into -2. -2 equals b. Let's finish this off. So maybe I'll make this one in yellow so it makes it clear we moved it. So let's finish this off. -1 minus 2 is just -3 equals b. We have our b. We have our m. There is our final m. Let's throw it all together. So I'm going to write the equation of the line, y equals mx plus b. And remember, we're done as soon as we have m and we have b and we have both of those. So let's do it. So let's leave y alone. Y equals m is 2. Copy the x. Plus b, our b was minus 3, so I can do plus minus 3, which we know is just going to be minus 3. So we've got 2x minus 3 is our final answer. Congratulations. Whoops. Congratulations, you are done. If you understand all these examples, you officially understand the hardest problems in Unit 2. So what you can do now is flip to the back page of this handout, and you're going to try a few of these examples to make sure that you know exactly what you're doing. If you need any help, just rewind the video and go over any of the problems you didn't understand.